Wow. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Dead by Daylight's birthday. Thank you for joining us. A huge shout out to the dev team who's here with us today. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, that's enough. I am Mathieu. I'm your host for the evening, along with Not Queen, our Pleasant community manager lead. We have quite a lot in store for you tonight.
So we promise drama, we promise cries, we promise surprises.
There will be some.
Get ready for 4 panels, a ton of videos, and a live band.
Amazing. So hopefully you have as much of a good time as we will hosting this tonight. And for now, take it away, Michel.
Go where? Action! Oh! Hello, I'm Chapper here on behalf of Sam of Nation. Samination! Yeah, that. Sam makes all those silly Dead by Daylight parody animations starring me. And others, but mostly me. The first video was released on June 19th, 2017, and Sam made it because he was a huge fan of the game, but he didn't think anyone would actually watch it. Boy, was he wrong. It was an instant hit with Dead by Daylight fans and even caught the eyes of the developers. He didn't stop there and went on to make 50 more episodes, probably. He also started live streaming the game on his YouTube's channel. Sam would also like to thank the makers of Dead by Daylight for creating me and his favorite game ever. Although I will never forget Palette Vacuum. Why you do that? Okay, I read lines. Ginger snaps, please.
My name is Christoph Young. I'm a character concept artist at Behavior Interactive, working on Dead by Daylight. Concept art's really interesting because a lot of people think that it's just about like drawing and just like drawing day in and day out, but there's actually a lot of research. You have to become like an expert about, I don't know, World War II, or an expert about the Victorian era, or an expert about this and that every couple days. It's kind of like a childhood dream coming true because you get to, draw a character from your imagination, from a bit of research, but then you get to see super talented animators and riggers and sculptors, bring this character to life and actually see your creation come to life in game. In university, I used to plot survival tactics. Like if there was a zombie apocalypse or something, we'd figure out a way to like escape the inner city or whatever. Yeah, I think I make a pretty good survivor.
So we are very excited with year 4. Year 4 is going to be an incredible year for the Dead by Daylight players. We see long-term vision for the game. We want to solidify the game.
We want to make sure that the game is more stable, more robust. Year 4 for us is all about the health of the game.
Year 4 is going to expand the universe of Dead by Daylight. It's going to add new things to do, new stories to explore. It's going to be amazing.
New content is always going to be there. We'll continue with the chapter releases. Obviously, every 3 months, we're going to get a new chapter. We know that people want more and more of the game. We want to be able to tell more stories. We want to be able to bring more characters. We want to be able to give players more mechanics to play with, more Dead by Daylight.
We are super excited to start the new year with the release of Ghostface.
So this year we'll create new maps, but we're also going to put effort on revisiting some of our old maps. So we are planning for 2 new maps and 2 map reworks. So what the player can expect out of these reworks is a global balance pass. So everything that's procedural within the level will be reviewed to create more of a balanced experience. There's also going to be a lot of effort put on visuals of some of these specific maps. So the lighting, the art assets within will be reviewed. Freddy's rework has been long in the making, and we're so happy to finally being able to reveal and release this to the community. So Freddy's power is going to be reworked completely, so it's going to create new gameplay, which we think is closer to what the character is in essence. So it's going to go to that fantasy of being the nightmare.
During year 4, we want to make sure we improve the game in many ways. The biggest ones are matchmaking, dedicated servers, and optimization, along with other improvements that we'll be able to add on to the game. You're going to have a steady frame rate all around. You're going to have good connectivity to servers. You're not going to feel punished if for some reason another player in the game disconnects. The game is going to be able to handle that properly.
The archive is a way for the player to explore more in depth the stories of our characters and the universe of Dead by Daylight. In the archive, the player will have to complete different challenges which add goals for him to do within the game. By completing these challenges, the player will unlock narrative component about the characters that will come in as cutscenes.
You know, this game can only benefit from more and more people playing. So we have the Switch coming, which is super exciting. I'm a big Nintendo fan, and I'm very happy and very proud that we were able to do justice to the console by bringing Dead by Daylight the right way to the Nintendo Switch. And also we have the mobile version of the game. It's going to be a very different way to interact with the game, but at its core, it's the same experience. It's Dead by Daylight, it's the same jump scares, it's the same sweat.
Releasing on mobile is like growing our Dead by Daylight family. It's super exciting. Our vision for the game, you know how we see it, is that for this year is going to be a way for us to give back to the players, to thank them for their support.
We have so much cool stuff coming to DVD. We're gonna keep bringing you awesome content, and we're not just gonna bring you stuff that you've been asking forever, but you're gonna be surprised by things you didn't know you wanted so much. Seriously, this year is gonna be the most amazing we've had. Okay, did you ever think that one day we would say thank you to the Dead by Daylight band?
Absolutely not. It's
Come
amazing.
on, that's
It's amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. First panel of the evening. Thank you very much, everybody here, for joining me. Let's talk a little bit about what's ahead for us. First, I will introduce our panelists. So Dave is our creative director. Hello, Dave. Stéphane is our producer. And Jérôme is our very shy senior product manager.
Shy, but excited.
Okay, good. We'll take that. All right, so very quickly, let's look back a little bit on what we did in the last year. So we presented our roadmap last year about the same time, and we've done quite a lot since then. Obviously, chapters. We had 4 amazing original chapters this year: Curtain Call, Shattered Bloodline, Darkness Among Us, and Demise of the Faithful. Yeah, and that was amazing. There was
a little extra in there as well. We got Ash.
It's true. We absolutely got Ash. Bit of a surprise, just sort of slipped in last moment. We did a lot of really cool things other than that. Stéphane, you want to talk a little bit about how we improved our test flow?
We really reinforced public test builds and really made sure they were part of the normal process. So now with every major release, 2 weeks before the release, the build goes in the hands of a portion of our player base. And it allows us to catch some issues we weren't able to catch during development, last-minute balance tweaks that we need to do before going live, and it's really, really helping to make a better product.
That's perfect. We've introduced quite a lot of new features, things that now people take for granted, but that are so important. What came in this year?
A year ago, we didn't have any store, so we started last year with the store and all these new cosmetics. We had a lot of fun creating them this year and seeing the players showing their personality using them.
I say that, I think, every time we release new cosmetics, but I think that the last one we just released with the clown is just probably my favorite.
And more recently, we changed the core mechanic of the game, like with the endgame collapse.
That's true.
So that's also quite amazing.
Yeah, that's a big one. We also added great big tutorials, which we didn't have before, so that's a huge help for all of our new players. We also spent a lot of time, at least the first pillar last year when we talked about what we were going to do was health. How did we do that?
Yeah, game health is very vital for us. So during year 3, we focused on several initiatives, such as the anti-cheat program that managed to bring a more secure and better system for the players. We canceled match. We started with less than 4 survivors. That was great. With the last recent patches, we optimized the number of frames per second. And also, we know that players really like when we are clear and transparent. So with the help of the community team, we started to post the devlog update where we talk about the issues that are in the game, and we explain how we are going to fix them.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the things that it's pretty recent too. I mean, we've made great big changes, but the community team has changed how we present our work, where we're at, sometimes stuff that's not even released yet, and where we're at with that. And we've done that with the matchmaking. We've done that with a few different issues, and I think that's a beautiful way for us to continue being transparent while being more thorough and give more.
Yes, indeed.
Next year, we will have quite a lot of this and more. So let's start. The 4 pillars this year obviously are going to be chapters. We're going to have chapters again, 4 of them. We're going to have game health in there. We're going to have live balancing. And we intend to have quite a lot more new goals and new ways to experience the game. That's going to be a tricky one. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. First of all, 4 chapters. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yes, so the chapters are the major content update for the game. Players want and love them, so we want to provide them 4 exciting chapters, so new characters, new playstyle, so it's going to be amazing. And we are going to take the same pattern, so 1 chapter every 3 months.
Okay, can you maybe give us a little sneak peek at the next chapter?
Next chapter is going to be about Ghostface.
Really?
Secret?
Surprise.
Secret?
Surprise.
Swiftly moving on. What else are we going to do?
Yes, so we are going to release 2 brand new theme maps, but we want also to take the time to revisit all the maps. We reach a game state where we want to tweak those maps for a better overall experience.
We've learned quite a lot about how to make maps in the last 3 years.
Yes.
And we want to go back essentially and put that knowledge to good use in some of the existing maps.
Exactly. The game has evolved, players have evolved, and we want that those map updates reflect this evolution.
So that's going to be gameplay and art.
Yes, so in terms of art, we are going to upgrade the assets. So the world that we crafted, we feel richer and more immersive. And on the gameplay-wise, we are going to do several changes, very exciting. So Dead by Daylight is about chaos. You know, when you enter in a map, it should be tense.
Yep.
What kind of map you're going to play with. And we want to bring back this
The uncertainty.
It's the uncertainty, learning, exploring, you know, going out of the comfort zone. That's going to be very important for us. So we're going to add new tiles for more variations.
So those are overall changes to the way maps are made, but we're also going to spend some effort to go and revisit some specific maps that need a little extra love, right?
Yes, exactly. We are going to do some changes because now we have the tool to tweak for example, some very procedural logic, such as the palette spawning, the density of the hook. And the first map that's going to get a makeover is going to be Madame Fresco.
That's much appreciated, I'm sure, by our players. And with that, obviously, it would be silly to, put some work in there without going to help the man that's in charge of that place.
So we talk a lot about it on the dev update or even on the post. Highly demanded by the community, we are going to release the rework of 3Ds in the next mid-chapter.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
You didn't do it personally, but I'll thank you personally.
Very
for
important.
That.
Yeah.
That's great. Game health. Let's move on to game health. How are we going to put, our money where our mouth is on the game health front for this?
As we mentioned, game health was an important pillar last year, and it remains an important thing this year for us. It comes in the shape of a few major components we want to improve in the game. The first thing we wanted to work and improve in the game for players was matchmaking.
Yep.
For the past 6 months or so, we have really revisited what was in place when it comes to matchmaking in order to improve on two specific facets of this. One of which is eliminating extreme wait times for certain players.
So the outliers in the curve, the people
exactly.
who wait for hours.
We know that some players in certain circumstances are going to wait tens of minutes, and that's something we really wanted to trim down as much as we could. And that's something we've been working towards. The other thing is we want to control how players are paired together based on their ranks, based on their geolocation. And that's something we're taking a lot of effort to improving in this new improved algorithm in matchmaking.
That's the thing also, because there are some tools that we can use to help, because obviously one big part of the matchmaking is you need people to want to play both roles within good ratios. Depending on the time of day and the populations, sometimes it can be difficult, but we have ways to help with that, right?
Exactly, and that's the difficult thing with matchmaking and something we're learning as we're going along. There's some things we don't control. If there's a very severe imbalance between the number of killers and survivors in a certain region or at a certain time of the day, there's a lot of fluctuation that happens. That's something we don't control, but at least we have some tweaks, some params that we can change to make that better and alleviate the load for everyone.
And one of the main reasons, well, other than the fact that matchmaking is critically important, but we had to revisit matchmaking anyway because of another big change that's coming.
From a strictly technical standpoint, matchmaking is leading us directly into dedicated servers. The new matchmaking will allow for that, and it's really, really exciting to move towards that. Our initial tests happened in the month of May or late April during the PTB, and it's been really, really fun to put that in the hands of player and seeing how the scaling reacted to the player base we had on the PTB.
It was mostly really fun because everything worked as intended.
It always is a lot better when it goes when it's positive than anything else. So.
And dedicated servers will bring us the tools to do something that's been asked quite a lot, to the helping on disconnects and how we deal with that.
Absolutely. It's always been a problem that we don't necessarily know how to handle a player disconnection because it's difficult for us to detect who's disconnecting since we didn't have a third party or a different entity that is responsible for making decisions. Now with dedicated servers, we'll be able to better understand who is disconnecting and make sure other players get rewarded appropriately, and then that's going to lead us into giving a set of tools to our community team to make sure those who disconnect too frequently are going to be treated in a special way.
Oh, okay. That's a mild way of putting it. I'm sure some people have very vigorous desires regarding that, but we'll leave that to our very competent community team to deal with. Let's talk a little bit about optimization. We've done, I think that patch 11.5 was probably the biggest improvement we've done. The players, especially on consoles, saw a big improvement. How are we going to continue on that?
Optimization, we talked about it, started last year, and it's something that's going to be ongoing for the next months, obviously. Really, the first thing for us was about understanding where the game was at right now. So we've built ourselves a set of tools that allowed to track properly the state of the game, patch after patch, over the different platforms. And now we're in a much better place to understand this. The second step was really making sure the game ran properly at all times. So we've looked at systems that are actively running, such as network communication, survivors running around, or gameplay systems that are always active and always running in the game to make sure there wasn't something that was too costly that was always affecting negatively the game.
And once we've established a good baseline, we'll move on to those specific spikes, like some powers or combination of events that creates.
Exactly. We know that at least the things that are all running all the time is something we're addressing as we go, but we're really going to shift the focus on specific perks, specific powers, who are either causing big spikes or, when active, will simply cause a general drop of frame rate for all players involved.
That's good.
It's really exciting to actually keep moving forward with this. So.
Yeah, because that's a big thing also, is that it used to be part of the process, but now there's a team that's dedicated for that, right?
Yeah, we have a team of 5 engineers who have been working on optimization for the last 6 months now, and it's going to be actively going on in the future too.
That's great. Yes, there's another little thing that we need to talk about here. Please. It seems like a small thing, but it comes with some big benefits.
Absolutely. We can see it in two parts here. We want to bring the friend management and the friend display inside the game directly. So all the friends list, the people that you have friended on the platform you're playing, on PlayStation, on Xbox, on Switch eventually, all these friends are going to be directly listed inside the game.
So the reflection for the players will mostly be that instead of seeing that overlay from the first party pop in, you'll just be doing that through the game interface.
Exactly.
But it does bring us the possibility to bring in a feature that's been asked for a little bit.
By internalizing the management of friends and the display of friends and invites inside the game, it allows us a friend requeue, we call, but basically Survive with Friends group will be able to be maintained together game after game, because the party is not going to live in the game, it's going to live on our servers instead of what it is right now.
I think that's the most beautiful thing you've said tonight.
It's really, really exciting.
I've been waiting for that for 80 years, I think.
Yeah. 34 months, I believe, is the correct number. So yeah, we see all the work that's going to happen in the next few months. All of these updates are coming in before Chapter 13 or around that. 2 very important milestones also that we will be crossing really soon. We want to invite more people to play the game. We want to put the game into your hands in many different ways. So the game is coming to the Switch. You've heard it here for the very first time, September 24th, 2019.
Was there a woo?
Have footage. Yes. Woo! It's time for woo. And for everybody out there who has pockets, we are bringing the game to mobile this year.
Yeah.
I will not go in details on that one. This is going to be handled by our mobile team, which is somewhere around there. Yay, mobile team. And they will be doing a big event and talk about all the details in the next few weeks. So more info there. Other than that, let's go into what cool new features we have in store.
I know it's my turn because my heartbeat is rising.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, we're very excited to announce this new mode, the Archive. Not a mode, sorry, it's a new way to play.
It's not a mode.
It's not a mode. It enriches the game that we already have, but it adds a new way to play, new goals to the player. Some players have played for 7,000 million hours already, so we want to bring something new in the game right now. So let's go. Let's present what the Archive is.
Well, I heard it expands the universe.
It does. So here's what the Archive
does more than expand the universe. So really, it's a platform to be able to explore the lore of what Dead by Daylight is.
It's one of the things that's constantly asked. More story about the characters.
Yeah,
in the world.
there's a big craving, and of course, because we're a multiplayer game, we don't have a lot of access or places where we can explore the story of our character. Every chapter we release these new characters, they have a bio, some add-ons and perks to explain their background, and then that's it. So the archive is the perfect platform to be able to explore these stories more in depth.
There's so much more we want to share with players. There's so
Absolutely,
much going on inside this head, but also and the team's head as a whole. So it's really a great platform for us to use.
Absolutely. Then, of course, there's going to be new things to do, so new goals. We'll cover that a little bit later. And it's going to be a new way to collect more cosmetics on top of everything that we're doing.
So
as
we're not going to stop putting new stuff in the store all the
No,
time.
absolutely not.
Okay.
But this is a new way to be able to unlock rewards like cosmetic, but more. We'll discuss that as well.
Okay. You want to talk about this
Absolutely.
beautiful piece of art?
So here's the concept of the archive. Of course, it's a work in progress. So with the archive, we'll be bringing the players into a new area of the entity, and we'll introduce a new support character called
that's
the
the hand
Observer.
there.
Yeah, he's called the Observer, the Archivist. There's multiple names, even the Prisoner. But we'll not discuss about the story today. It's something that the players will have to discover through the years. What I want to say today is what is to be expected in the archive. So the Observer has a very unique power where he can probe the entity fog and find memories and stories that are stored in the memory of the entity. You know, every time a character is taken by the entity, all of the memories of that character goes into the fog somewhere. It's stored somewhere.
That's how all the universe is sort of created.
Exactly.
It's from bits and bobs from different people.
And then that's kind of forgotten. It's not used by the entity, but the Observer can probe and find these stories for
probing.
reasons that we'll see later. Yeah, probing. So, you know, right here on the concept, we see a little Claudette. So this is one of the story we're going to explore. It's an example. So when, you know, a little bit of backstory, what made Claudette that we know. Last thing on stories, we want to be generous with the lore of the game. So every archive, so every 3 months, in between the chapter release, we want to release a new tome on the mid-chapter. And we want to release a new tome. And the tome is going to have survivor stories, killer stories, and one story that expands the universe that make the story of the Dead by Daylight progress.
Oh, that's awesome. And so, yeah, let me get that straight. So we have the chapters that are going to be coming every 3 months, and then we have the stuff that keeps coming in the store all the time, and then we'll add on top of that every 6 weeks in between the chapters. We're going to put the archives, which is going to bring a lot of different quests and missions and things to do, plus a ton of new content.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So what we're seeing here is what the player will actually be doing in the archive. So what you're going to see in a tome is a web of quests and mission, a bit like the Blood Web, but with different things that you need to accomplish in the game. So the player decides what path they want to use to be able to unlock all the goodies in there. And there's some survivor mission, there's some killer mission, there are some that are more global, there are some that are really specific, and a lot of them are also based around the story that we're currently exploring.
So each tome has its own theme and its own story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the missions are going to be linked somewhat to this story that we're exploring.
And the rewards too.
Yeah. So what we see here is that, of course, you'll be able to progress your character using blood points that are rewards of the nodes themselves, of the missions. But you're also going to unlock the stories bit by bit. And once you complete each of the story, you will unlock an animatic that shows your, all the characters that we have in situations that are impossible to see normally in the game.
Yeah.
You can also see here charms. So there is a
I was gonna
new
ask about
cosmetic.
that.
Yeah, it's a new cosmetic that we will release with the archive called the Charm. So these are little trinkets that you can equip on Survivor's belt and also on the Killer Hook.
Ooh.
So as part of the archive, it's important to understand that there's 4 difficulty levels in the archive, so difficulty of mission. And when you complete one of the difficulty level, you will unlock this completion charm that is unique to that tome, meaning that it's the ultimate bragging right.
So
Complete
if I'm
everything.
not done by the time the next tome comes out, can I still work on it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The archives tome will be available to all forever. It's part of the normal game. Everybody has access to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the question.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
This is the answer.
Okay, thank you.
There's more with the archive as well. So the Rift is something else that comes with the archive. So when the observer probes inside the fog, it creates a rift. The rift is not permanent, it's something temporary. So it's for the 3 months of that specific tome that we just released. And in the rift, the player will be able to unlock more cosmetic. So here's a little concept, obviously work in progress. So in the rift, by completing quests in the tome that is currently active, and by just playing normally, you'll be able to evolve into tiers, into 2 tracks of rewards.
Okay.
So the first track is free for everybody that is participating in, there you go. So every, tiers in the free track will reward in different cosmetic. And if you want to spice it up, you can also participate in the paid track, which has even more cosmetic. And what's important to understand here is that the cosmetic rewarded in these tracks are related to the stories of the tome that we're exploring.
That's really, really cool. Oh yes, there's a big message on the screen right there.
Yeah, very important. So everything in the Rift is absolutely no pay to win. It's all about cosmetic. That's it.
No extra camouflage outfits, no ninja outfits.
Just the pink neon flashing ninja is allowed.
Perfect. It's exactly like we've always done, like
Yeah.
the original. That's perfect. Thank you so much for that.
No worries.
The tentative date right now for this is around mid-chapter 13. We say tentative at this point because this is so big, this is so important for us, and it's so chock full of goodness. We want to make sure that if we release it, it is because it's perfect.
Yes.
And so we think it's probably going to be around chapter 13.5 that it's going to be ready.
Can't wait.
Other than that, we also want to go and rework some of the way the seasons work and the rank works, right?
Yeah, this is the other big component of Dead by Daylight, of course, the rank and the season. And what we shipped with 3 years ago kind of falls flat after 3 years. You get your rank 1 and that's it. Yeah. So we want to make sure through an initiative this year that we review the rank and the season so that it's more meaningful. So that means rewards, it means a longer season, it means a better progression in there, so there's going to be more rank to evolve in and rewards to unlock. Also, what we have right now is in the rank is comparing killers with survivors.
Yeah.
And we think that this doesn't make a lot of sense since they have very different roles. So what we want to redo with this rank rework is to compare killers with killers, the trapper with trappers, so that you have, as a player, your own progression in there. You want to get better and compare to your game, and then compare with other players that are playing the same kind of thing. The other very important aspect is, our game is amazing because it is chaotic, it creates weird scenarios. It's unpredictable. There's so many different components. And of course, we balance as much as we can this experience, but we do love when it gets crazy as well. So we want to embrace this chaos and make sure that the game rewards you accordingly based on how chaotic it is.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Tall order.
Yeah, but it's really, really exciting.
So you're going to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that's essentially our roadmap for year 4. It's chock full of goodness, but I want to say something. So last year when we released our year 3 roadmap, we put a lot of stuff in there, and we delivered, I think, probably like 95% of what we put in there. The 1 or 2 changes were because, things change, and that's not the priority. But we also delivered a lot of stuff that wasn't in there, and it's most likely what's going to happen. So this is the things that we know we're going to give players for the next year, and there's a lot around this, which is the stuff that we want to give players or that we don't know yet that players want, and that's probably going to come in also. So yeah, hopefully you're as excited as I am about all of this. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining me here and taking a second to do this. Up next, I believe we are going to go and talk to some designers about design.
Hi, I'm Sandy Misaki. I've been cosplaying Dead by Daylight for 2.5 years. My favorite cosplays are my Huntress and my Nia, but I'm now working on a new killer cosplay. I wish you devs and the Dead by Daylight community a happy anniversary. My round is starting. Time to hook a few survivor.
I'm Dharmesh. I work Dev QA on Dead by Daylight. If you don't test something thoroughly, people will find it. And if it's exploitable, they'll exploit it. If it's broken, they will bring it up. If you want the game to look good, you need to polish it, and QA does that. We also check out what the community is saying, what they like, what they don't like, what they're reporting is broken. When you test for a while, you start learning how the games work. More than press X to make the character jump. You start learning all of the finer details that pressing X actually does. The game has definitely got more complicated. Now people are running metas, they have strategies. People play the game differently than they did on day one. I would be a terrible survivor. I would be just running around panicked the whole time. Well, I'm handy, but repairing a generator is not easy.
Je m'appelle Diane et je suis game designer sur Dead by Daylight. Moi, je travaille principalement sur tout ce qui est feedback à l'intérieur du jeu, dans les sessions de gameplay. Et je travaille aussi sur la méta, donc c'est tout ce qui est en dehors du gameplay, en fait. Sur les menus, l'expérience utilisateur. Quand j'explique mon travail, généralement, j'explique que c'est moi qui établis les règles du jeu et les éléments qu'on trouve à l'intérieur. Pour que les joueurs soient guidés, sachent quoi faire, et aussi pour créer tout simplement l'expérience. Les gens ne voient pas forcément le travail qu'il y a derrière pour que toute l'expérience et les règles soient mises en place. Il y a une personne aussi qui est derrière le pourquoi je peux faire des choses, comment je peux les faire et quelles sont les mécaniques de ce jeu. Sans notre travail au game designer, le joueur n'a pas d'expérience, il ne sait pas quoi faire et il n'y a pas de jeu derrière. Je joue avec des amis, je joue avec mon copain aussi. Parfois, j'ai envie de le laisser sur son hook tout seul. Donc, je ne sais pas si c'est la meilleure chose pour la relation de couple.
Welcome everyone to the Year 3 Anniversary Design Panel. So you guys are here today, Stefan Orvat and Matt Walker. You're here to talk to us about game design. So what do you do on Dead by Daylight?
So I'm a game designer on the project, and I work on live design. My buddy here.
So I'm a level designer.
You're a what?
A level designer, a little bit different.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Because of the anyways, this is not important. So we're talking about live design. You guys, okay, this is a lot different than our usual setup, so it's a lot more impressive, right? Normally we're like stuck in a small room, we talk, we meme. This is different, but we're good, all right? So what is live design? What do you guys do on a daily basis?
So, well, live design, as an overview, is basically a working of a live product. So it's not just done when it gets put out. We actually keep working on it and improving it. We look to improve mechanics, address bugs and issues, as well as look to address feedback.
All right, and what kind of feedback do you look into normally?
So live design, as opposed to a normal type of production, it's mostly about quick decisions because you don't have as much time. You're constantly in a rush, right? Every 3 months, if you've seen on the roadmap, we have new content coming out. So it's very grueling, and so decisions on the design side are made based on a few different type of feedback. So the first thing is that we pay attention to our design intuition. So obviously, designers have intentions. They want the game to be experienced a certain way, etc. So we listen to our design intention. But we also pay really close attention to the community and the community feedback, because they're the ones playing the game. So we had to make sure that they're making the most out of it and they're enjoying it. And of course, last but not least is the data analysis, in which, when we see people playing, we listen to their feedback, and we create variables that we can track over time to see the cold hard numbers behind what that feedback's about, and to also test our own, make sure that our own ideas and our own intuitions are aligned with that of the community.
All right, so Steph is here today to talk to us about the Freddy rework. I'm not messing this one up. And Matt is here today to talk about the map updates. So let's start with you, Freddy rework. Now, I know the chat is going crazy right now. They saw a tiny little thing on a teaser earlier, and now the theories are all over the place. So I said rework for you, I said update for you. What's the difference between an update and a rework?
So when we're talking about characters specifically, an update is like what we do with the Wraith and what we do with the Legion, what you recently saw. Ultimately, we're not changing the power drastically. You're still playing him the same. We're just going to be tweaking some numbers and ways of how it actually functions. With the rework, we're going to be changing the power completely. You can expect to play the killer differently. And we're touching add-ons, the power itself, the way he plays, the way people experience him, most importantly.
So why did we specifically choose to rework the Freddy character?
So the Nightmare came out, and our players felt a little frustrated when playing against him and playing as him. Waiting 7 seconds before you can hit somebody was a bit frustrating for players. They wanted to be able to hit people right away. And playing against Freddy, him being invisible by default was very difficult for new players, in addition to the fact that they had a high interaction speed debuff, so it took a long time to do actions. So we're looking to improve those specific things.
Okay, so now we know the why we're doing things. Now, what's the difference between the original vision that we had for Freddy and the one we have for the new vision, actually, the new way?
So the old Freddy, as I was mentioning, he was like a delay type of game character with very simple mechanics where he just puts people to sleep. Now we're looking to add map mobility in addition to an active power that you can use within chases. And he still has the deviousness aspect of him, but no more interaction debuff.
Okay, that sounds absolutely amazing, and I can hear all the Freddy mains, but tell us more. So what's the new power? What changed?
So we're looking at two main components. We're looking at a new sleep cycle and new dream abilities.
Okay, so let's start. So there we see it. So a sleep cycle and a dream ability. Before that, you just had to put the survivors to sleep. You had to aim your power. Now you're talking about a sleep cycle. What changed on this? Because it's completely different.
So the sleep cycle has 3 components to it. It has microsleep, which is the first one I'm going to talk about. Ultimately, players will experience Freddy differently. So when you're awake, he'll be intermittent at a certain distance, invisible past a certain distance, and completely visible within a tight range. You'll hear the terror radius by default instead of the lullaby. And that's pretty much it for the default microsleep. And you can hit people right away as Freddy. You don't have to wait for them to fall asleep.
Oh, okay, so now we're seeing some footage of Freddy blinking in and out. So at that moment, you would hear terror radius, right?
Exactly, as he's walking away.
Yes. And Freddy doesn't have any more to put anyone to sleep.
No. So this is the second component of the sleep cycle. Survivors will be falling asleep passively, so it's going to happen over 60 seconds or whatever time we choose. Keep in mind, this is a work in progress, so anything may change, even with the things that I'm saying, but this should be the general idea of what's happening. After people fall asleep, Freddy should be completely visible, and you'll be hearing the lullaby instead of the terror radius, which is a little harder to detect where he's coming from.
Okay, so in this the sleep mode, right? A lot of people had feedback about the visual effect. So is that changing, or does it stay the same?
Absolutely. So the dream visual will be changing as well. People were saying that the graininess was a bit difficult for their eyes. We're working on this right now. We don't have an example of what it's going to look like, but look forward to see something different for that as well. And the dream world will be staying, of course.
Okay, so you're going to be falling passively asleep.
Yes.
Somehow you're going to need to wake up, right?
That's a really good point. So if you knew the previous Freddy, we had failed skill checks as an ability to wake up. Now, any failed skill check will wake you up. That includes sabotage. In addition to failing skill checks, you can wake each other up. This is the old snap, snap, clap, clap, and then you're awake.
I think we had footage for the waking up elements.
Absolutely. If nothing, if anything, people will be seeing everything later. This is just a sneak peek, of course. And the final component of waking up is the new dream object, which is a clock on top of a dresser. When you fall asleep, there will be a dream object that you can interact with that will always wake you up.
So it's way easier to get woken up by a fellow survivor or by a generator. Why would I want, as a survivor, to go to that sleep object?
Sometimes the skill checks might not be as easily accessible as people may have thought in the first place. In addition to that, waking up, both survivors need to be asleep. One survivor needs to be awake to wake up a sleeping survivor. So you may all be asleep, or there may be nobody near you. This will be a consistent way that people can find to wake up, as this was a complaint that people had initially.
Okay, so there was another build where it was making you fall asleep faster if you were not waking up with the object. Is that still the case on this work in progress?
No, we changed
that. Okay,
that.
changed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that was just
thank you for asking, of course.
A follow-up question.
Yeah.
So now Freddy doesn't have to aim a power to put survivors asleep, but he does have powers of his own.
Oh, of course.
So what's different with the new Dream Demon power?
So this is the dream abilities.
Okay.
He's got dream traps, and he's got something else. I'm going to go into that after. It's a little teaser right now. So we start with dream pallets. Dream pallets, not like the Doctor, but similar to the Doctor. You can place dream pallets on spawn points throughout the map, where pallets would normally spawn, to place these fake pallets. Awake survivors do not see these pallets, so you have to play like a memory game and remember which ones were not there before you fell asleep. And then when you fall asleep, there will be fake pallets. These fake pallets, when you interact with them and drop them, they explode in blood.
So yeah, it's very rare nowadays that there's pallets everywhere, like double pallets everywhere. Not happening anymore, right?
We will be talking
So if
about
you
that.
see that, something might be problematic, fishy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay, dream pallets. Was there anything else?
Of course, there's also a dream snare. So we're choosing between the dream pallets and the dream snares. For those of you at home, we're not sure if we're going to go for both in this base kit. It might be one that turns into an add-on, where the other one is base kit. The dream snares is an ability that you can use actively within a chase. It only affects sleeping survivors. And when you place it on the ground, it will take 2 seconds to arm, and when a survivor walks over it, they will be slowed for the time that the trap is active and for a lingering effect after that.
So we don't have a visual on this one yet. Right?
This one is still a work in progress, and we are testing it internally right now.
Okay.
But they should be seeing some stuff soon, hopefully.
All right. So you talk about map pressure. Did you say anything about that
I
earlier?
did say map pressure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freddy with map pressure. What is this?
What could that possibly be? So some people saw a charge bar on in the video, the anniversary stream, if they're paying attention really closely. This is the generator teleport. So ultimately, as Freddy, you can aim at a generator, and you can channel an ability for 5 seconds. After the 5 seconds, you will appear at the generator.
So, so right now we're seeing footage of it from the killer's point of view. So you just aim to the generator and you just get there, right?
Exactly. You can also cancel it. Ultimately, the generator will explode in blood during the time period while you're channeling, and a husk of Freddy will also appear at the generator.
That's awesome. I've seen also that you can use them in chase. Now we see the survivor side right away. Yeah.
So ultimately, you can be running towards a generator and forcing the survivor to go towards that direction, and then you can teleport in front of him to get to the generator and try to cut him off.
Oh yeah, this is what we're seeing right now.
Oh, right now.
Quentin, what did you do?
What did he not do?
What did he not do? He was looking behind him, I think. That's the problem.
Oh, yes.
Anyways, okay, so that's a lot of information, but you didn't give us any number yet. Everything is still a work in progress. Thank you for taking the time to come and show this
My
to
greatest
us.
pleasure.
Right? We know that you're gonna have a ton of other questions. The community is gonna just flood from questions. We're gonna take the time to answer them. So we're gonna gather all the questions during the weekend, and we're gonna try to answer as best as we can next week, our normal Q&A stream in our very small room compared to this.
This is going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
So it is Mr. Walker's time. I think you're going to have to do something there.
Oh, hold on a second.
Wake up, it's your turn.
Oh, whoa. I just had the worst nightmare. You were all in it. Freddy could teleport to generators. He was putting fake pallets everywhere that are exploding into blood. And he was slowing me down with these dream traps. It was horrible.
It's real, man. It's coming.
This was totally
amazing,
not
though,
planned.
amazing. Oh, that sounds so good. Just like these pillows. How cool are those pillows?
So, Matt, thank you for joining us. You're going to talk about map updates. What is
That's right.
this?
So, map
to it.
updates, yeah. Well, so first and foremost, year 4 is lining up to be something super special. I mean, you've seen everything that we've presented so far. So on the level design side, I just wanted to say, we've bolstered the team. We're 3 able bodies now on the team. We have the great Andre Laniel, Mr. Pierre Sif, who just joined us, and myself, of course. So we're able to undertake much more ambitious projects. So map updates, we'll jump straight into it, is basically us going back into older maps and essentially bringing a whole new dimension to maps you already know.
Yeah. So, as we've seen in the roadmap panel, you guys are going to slow down the production of new themes, right?
So far, we're slated to do 2 new themes this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many map updates?
So far, we're slated to do 2 map updates as well.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So a map update is the 3 R's.
That's right.
That's what you came up with.
So, yeah, so the map updates incorporate a lot of different changes. The first, how can I say, category is the rework changes. So the rework changes, as Jerome mentioned earlier, are to reflect our evolving community, right? Because the way that our players play now are not the same way that they were playing 3 years ago. In fact, there's many things that they've learned over time and they've learned to exploit over time, things like that. And so we are evolving with the player base, and we're going to evolve the maps to reflect the reality of the situation. So reworks have a whole bunch of stuff in it.
So before we jumped on rework, refresh, and relaunch, how do we create map in Dead by Daylight? Because it's not the same as like every game.
Right, so it's a good point. So first and foremost, for those of you that don't know, Dead by Daylight maps are generated procedurally. As you'll see on the screen right now, this is an example of what happens internally for the map to come together. So essentially, as level designers, we function on 4 different levels. Essentially, there's the assets that we create, which are more or less static, and we have the rules that manage how they're put together, how the level is constructed, how things are spawned. And then we have the actual map output, so what's the result of the generative process. And then we have the behaviors that the players have while playing those maps. So we look at all 4 of those different layers when we design levels for Dead by Daylight.
All right, so now that everyone catch up to what is basic, level design in Dead by Daylight, can you explain to us what's a rework when it comes to maps?
Right. So as I said, there's a bunch of things in the rework category. It's not the only category, however. We have a lot of different things we'll be doing to maps. But the major things that we'll be doing in the rework section are things like looking at palette loops, for example.
Careful with this word.
Yeah. So the idea is that we'll be reworking palette loops. Now, the idea of reworking palette loops is we see that there are some loops in the game, such as the one on the left, where they're too valuable for survivors in a chase. What that means is that essentially there's like more loop money in those loops. And so what we want to do is we want to reduce those loops which are too valuable, where there's too much loop money, and we want to reduce that overall.
So I can already hear it, but why? It's nerfing survivors again, right?
No, not necessarily. because basically the way the procedural map system works is that we have a palette budget, for example, right? And so what happens is we give the map a certain budget to place palettes. So what we'll do is we won't be touching the budget, but rather we'll be lowering the value of the really high value loops in favor of smaller value loops. And when we go to redistribute that value across the map, this is a very exaggerated version we see on the screen, but on the left we see a few really high value loops, and on the right, what we're aiming for actually is many more lower value loops, but overall equivalent to what we had.
So what's the goal with those? Is to
The goal is to promote more skill-based gameplay, because with overly safe loops, there isn't so much mind gaming that can happen. So mind gaming, looping, this is like the central mechanic of the game. So we want to promote that, because it's really fun when you have, you know, those loops where you can kind of mind game and it's up to someone to make a mistake. So we want to have a higher frequency interaction between the players, and at the same time, we want each of those interactions to be more meaningful.
So there's a lot of talk about loops here, but is there anything else that's going to come into the rework?
Sure, there's so much I can't even talk about all of it, right? So for example, I don't know, hiding palettes, jeez.
Totems. Well.
That was hiding totems, right? So that's one of the really simple things to deal with. It's just taking the time to go into each of the assets and make sure that they're hidden really well. And I have to tell you, I'm pretty happy about some of them. I think the community has been seeing some of our kind of precursor to that work, actually.
Yes, some of them are very well hidden.
Yeah.
It's a big.
Yeah,
big
so we're
change.
going in that direction. We're going to keep going with that.
So okay, so there was totems, then fat shaming spots.
Yeah, so obviously, well, I don't want to get into the details, but yes, spots where certain characters get stuck, yeah, we're working on that as well. It's an issue with edge objects, etc. But we're also looking at getting rid of hostage spots. So, okay, I don't want to get into that too much either, because we recently put these volumes into the basement stairs to prevent you from getting taken hostage in those spots. But we're also going to be looking at completely removing any infinite or abusable windows as well.
Okay, I think that's good.
Yeah, we're all in.
So if we're going to the refresh part.
Refresh. So
you
that's
told
the second
me that
aspect,
was your
yeah.
favorite. So why is it
It's
your
my favorite. It's the most exciting because as you know, any experienced Dead by Daylight player at this point, after 3 years, some of you probably have like 6,000 hours or more, like some crazy number.
A very huge nerd badge.
Really huge amount of hours played in the game, and one of the things that makes the game special is that there's a lot of unknowns. The procedural system of the level, the procedural level design system is there to promote exploration and discovery and not so much memorization, right? So what we're doing in the refresh section of the map updates is to add new tiles that you've never seen before, so you'll have to learn those loops and learn how to play them. And what's even more important, is that we'll be adding layouts, new layout variations. Essentially, we'll be adding new maps into certain themes. Like, for example, Springwood, as you see right now. These are some tiles that we're working on that will be introduced into the Springwood recipe. And we'll be having 4 new maps in the Springwood theme.
So new layout variations.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I call them layout variations because they'll still be using the preschool, they'll be still using the houses. As you can see here, this is an example. On the left, it's the original map, and on the right, it's a new variation on the same map. So no new assets, but a new configuration for players to learn and have fun in.
It's been keeping me on my toes so far.
That's the point. Be on your toes.
So is that translated to other maps in our our
So
pool?
map updates are a case-by-case scenario. We'll be looking at which will be the most priority going forward, and making the decision on what needs to be implemented and when.
All right. And 2 and the 3 R's.
That's
the
right.
relaunch. Are we
relaunch.
are we just like starting the party for that new map? What are we doing?
You know it. You know it, Gab.
This
Come
guy's
on.
gonna have a party when it
So,
goes.
so relaunch is pretty simple, right? Whenever we release a new chapter, we have new map in the game, we promote it for the first week that it comes out to get people to try it and give us some feedback and see what's happening. It's going to be the same thing. When we do map updates, if we have new maps, or even when we re-release older maps, we will give them a slight promotion. I love these. They're so
fluffy.
so nice.
Right?
Yeah.
It's yeah, you can hide this hex better now.
So that's it. So when we come out with new maps, whether they're new themes or whether they're map reworks, we will have a little map launch party.
All right. So for the players, what can they expect on the next year's like
A lot more maps than they've ever had before.
expectations? Really high. Right here.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you, Gab.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm
And
here.
thank the band.
Yo,
How
for
awesome
sure.
are they, right?
All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go to the community panel. I'm going to jump from this chair to the other over there. I think Matt is leaving with the pillow. Thank you so much again. Let's go. Woo.
Hello， 大家好，我是松鼠。距离我第一次接触《黎明杀机》到现在已经2年啦。其实呢，我个人在生活中是非常胆小的，会喜欢上《黎明杀机》这款游戏，我自己也觉得非常意外。但可能这正是《黎明杀机》的美丽所在吧。然后呢，在2周年的 cosplay 活动中，我 cos 了凤鸣，取得第2名的成绩。我当时的作品呢，选景是在一面涂鸦墙，因为我觉得涂鸦墙能赋予我的照片一种非常强烈的冲突和紧张的氛围，所以有可能的话，我也非常期待在未来的黎明杀机里能看到这种类型的地图。最后祝黎明杀机越办越好，3周年快乐！雾中人，我们雾里见，拜拜。
My name is Andre. I'm level designer on the project of Dead by Daylight. We create different experience, different buildings and obstacles for the players. Before starting in the video game industry, I was a waiter in a restaurant and only have a bachelor degree in history. And I'm really passionate about video games, so I really wanted to get the job. So I applied for a QA tester position 13 years ago. I got an interview, and after that, I kept pushing, sending my CVs and calling the HR every week just to get a chance. And I think they got tired and they hired me. From tester, I became a level designer, and I'm still there. I played the Trapper, and I just love him because he's brutal. I think that's probably a bit of my personality coming out there.
Sarah, I'm a UI designer on Dead by Daylight. A user interface designer is responsible for all of the interactions, menus, button prompts, anything that helps the player navigate both the menus and the game itself. It's not where the fun lies, so when people think of a video game, they don't think of UI. I think of UI. Maybe I mother people a little bit. I like to encourage people to step out of their shell and really step up and be part of this. There's lots of people who have fantastic ideas, and having been on the project for a really long time, I want those ideas. Despite the fact that we've grown in size, the temperament and feeling and excitement of all of the people is the same. It's just like we found more of ourselves.
Wow. Awesome. Hello again. Thank you for joining me. We have a wonderful little skewer of delightful people here. So that works better in French, believe me. Not Queen, our lead community manager. You know her.
I feel way better here than here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully that's because I make you comfortable.
Oh, it's me.
Cauliflower, thank you so much for joining us, and Vincent Vega, thank you.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing to have you here. Seriously, you've been part of our community. You've been part of the team to a certain extent for a while now. So thank you, thank you. Let's take a moment. For me personally, this show, one of the biggest reasons we put this show together is because of the community. Because the people we play with, it's the people we interact with, it's the people who enjoy our game and feed us that energy every day. Please take a moment. The community team has changed quite a lot. We brought you in about 2 years ago. We went to grab you in your home, literally, because you were streaming Dead by Daylight, and we thought you were awesome and well-spoken, and you seemed like a person we'd like to hang out with.
I seem like a person. That's acceptable.
Well, not every streamer looks like a person, to be fair.
Careful what you're saying there.
Come on.
What about us? I mean,
here are some of the good ones.
I look a little homeless, but
I was gonna say,
part
is
of your
that not
charm.
the guy
That's
we
it.
got in the alley by? Where did you find him?
hey, I got back security. It's all that matters.
Oh, there you go. But that's it. So the community team has changed quite a lot.
So I was lucky enough to live the fan dream, really. I played the game, and then I got a call. Do you want to come to the studio? I'm like, yeah, why not, right? And then I got a job. When I started, it was me and 8 amazing volunteers. And now, on our year 3 anniversary, you saw that. There's 3 of us at the studio. So shout out to Peanuts and Pat, and I'm going to finger gun you. Oof.
Yeah, okay, move on.
Moving on. We have 3 amazing local community managers. We just hired someone from Japan as well. We have ACMs that are taking care of bands. That's a thankless job, really. Yeah. They're doing an amazing job also. And now, just recently, we hired 2 people to coordinate all the volunteers that are working hard on forums, on live streams and everything, that are giving us the time. And today, our new moderators signed their NDA, and they're in the team, so that's about 30 of us.
That's awesome.
That's us, yeah.
Speaking of our delightful community managers, they've put together a little clip for us of their favorite moments of the year, their most cherished memories. So let's take a look at that.
It's like my favorite part.
Yeah, it's cool.
I hope I was cut there.
Oh God! Holy fuck, dude!
Oh God, John, I love you. Give me a hug.
Oh no! No, you put her down!
Loading consent. Oh my God! Holy crap!
Tonight we're announcing the dedicated servers are coming to Dead by Daylight.
You fucking what, dude?
That's a good one. That's the best one.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! Oh my God! That's it! Oh my God!
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
No, get away from me! Yeah! You get to play Ash as a survivor in the hit video game Dead by Daylight.
Yes!
Be Ash.
That's probably about that. Oh, finger just comes out of his mouth.
Stay. Stay. Oh, God! Dude, my puppet's even shaking! Oh, God!
Okay, that's
awesome.
That's incredible.
That kind of energy, that kind of passion is irreplaceable.
Talking about passion, the impact of the community on the
On
dev
us,
team.
yeah, it's amazing.
So you can hear you heard the applause. People really love to see everyone playing the game. But also what the community doesn't necessarily know is that every day we talk with the devs. So we have a meeting every day where we bring your voice to the devs, and there's a lot of changes that happen because you voiced your concern. So that's very important. And sometimes some, do voice it nicely, some don't. However, we see this as passion.
It's all passion.
So,
and to be fair, we've said it before, but we'll say it again. I think it's worth repeating. This stopped being our game the moment we launched it, because it's now as much the players and everybody who's enjoying it. We need to hear what they want this game to become, because it's theirs too. So, there. Yeah, I get a little emotional when I watch these things. Anyway, let me take a moment to welcome our esteemed guests. First of all, Cauliflower.
Hi.
Hi. Would you tell me how long you've been streaming?
I've been streaming since October 2014, a little over 4 years.
That's forever in
It is.
streaming terms.
It is, and tomorrow is actually my 2-year anniversary of being full-time.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
I did it, Mom.
this was totally planned, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for throwing this for me. It was great.
It's the least we could do. And what has Dead by Daylight been for your stream? Like, what's the impact of that game on your streaming career?
Well, before Dead by Daylight, I was kind of bouncing around from game to game. Felt kind of like I didn't have a home in the streaming world. I was homeless a little bit, like this guy right here. I found Dead by Daylight, and instantly I was connected with everybody. It became a home. All the other content creators are so supportive of one another. We play games together. We host each other. We share communities. And through all that support and love, my stream kind of grew and took off. And I actually got nominated and became a finalist for Twitch Streamer of the Year.
Wow. Well done, you. We'll take a little bit of credit
A little bit.
But yeah, and so why DVD? It could have been many games.
I've always been into the spooky, creepy, just anything scary. Games, movies, you name it. I had a scary movie collection when I was like 10.
So just a match made
I
in
was
heaven.
just drawn to the horror aspect of it, and I don't know, it came out. I played it very casually. And then we found Angry Pug streams.
The pug.
Yes. I don't know where. But my friends and I started watching Angry Pug, just his Friday night drinking streams, having a good time. And after like a year, I just was like, I want to try it. Let's see what happens. And here we are, a couple years later.
In Montreal.
Yeah, on a live stream.
Yeah. So exotic here. And what about you, Vincent Vega? Tell us, how long have you been doing this?
I started right after Kayla. I was in November of 2014 when I started on Twitch.
Yeah?
Yep.
How's it been?
It's been awesome.
Yeah?
Absolutely awesome, especially since Dead by Daylight came along. I started streaming that. When it came out, I found it on the beta version on Twitch, started watching it, thought it was like a really cool, unique game. Nothing out there was like it. And finally, I got the beta key, played it for a couple hours. I was hooked. I like to say Dead by Daylight got me by the balls right out the gate.
You do like to say that.
Yes, I do. And then I've been playing it and streaming it ever since.
And it's served you well. You have a very successful streaming career. And
Yes.
you've been full-time for a bit now?
Yeah, I got partnership through Dead by Daylight streaming it in January 2017. And in April this year, I was able to quit my full-time job and pursue streaming full-time. And Dead by Daylight pretty much built everything that I've success from.
That's amazing.
It's been an awesome ride.
I want to ask also, so both of you saw our roadmap. What's your favorite thing about the roadmap so far?
So I was gonna say the charms, but I've changed my mind. The charms are still awesome. Anytime there's more customization in there,
You're right there.
I'm right there. I'm getting all of it. But the Freddy rework, I got to play him.
Yeah, got a little sneak.
He's pretty cool. And the map rework, update, whatever you want to call it, I'm excited for people to see it.
That's cool. All right.
Very
and
cool.
and
Oh,
what
yeah.
about you? What's the most exciting thing for you?
I'm excited about the archives.
Yeah?
'Cause, I mean, the current grind is, blood points, prestiging, and getting all your characters with perks. So this is like you add quests to the game where you can open up lore. I know people love the lore, so they'll get the backstory, and also get, cosmetics. And we're all skin whores at the end of the day, so
It's true.
we love our skins.
Yeah, I think many of us have been called that.
Yes.
That's amazing. When we invited you here, we asked you both to come up with some of your favorite moments, some of your favorite elements from the community. We've selected a few. Let's look at them for now. I think we have the best meme for this year.
So this one was your choice, but I think I heard Walker scream from behind over here somewhere.
No doubt.
So yeah, that's yours. Nah.
I mean, you spawn in as a survivor, you're like, oh, it's right there.
Yeah,
There it is.
fair enough. What else we got?
I mean,
I assume that's your favorite.
no, I
that
did
was
not.
my
I did
favorite.
not
That?
throw that
Come
in
on
there.
now.
He
Oh, so
did
you
that.
put it there. Yeah, we know.
It is. I would say like 50% of our social media answers.
It's probably
She's on it.
most
Definitely.
of what's in the chat right now anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So
I just want to know when the skinless Mike or shirtless Michael
Skinless
Myers.
Mike.
Skinless.
That's the triple X version. We can't do that yet. When are we getting the body pillow? That's the important part.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Oh,
right?
come on.
Yes, yes.
yeah. So yeah, working on it. All right, we have the best DBD bug.
Well, you had a couple of questions.
I'm glad that you went for a very elegant. Oh, there you go. Ask and you shall receive.
There we go.
This is so weird.
It's not shirtless Myers, but
awkward.
it's
No.
it's not
Hanging
weird.
out.
You know, the weirdest thing I discovered is that
See,
if
now
you
you
hold
can
it against
actually
you,
lean on.
he's actually upside down on the other side, so you're sort of 6-9ing
He's like
or
looking
something.
at me
It's
instead of
just
Kayla.
weird.
He should be looking
It's
at Kayla.
TMI Friday, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. Okay, so the next one is the best cosplay, I believe. Oh, no.
Oh,
we have
no.
another bug.
This
Oh,
one.
glad we decided to put the pictorial version of that one.
Yeah, you load in and you're turning your audio down as fast as humanly possible. Chat's losing their minds and their ears.
Literally taking your headset off and waiting for the music to end and then putting them back on.
I
we've all
can say
done
for
it.
a fact that I've seen a streamer throw their headset.
Oh, yeah.
So moving on to the best cosplay. There's too many to choose from, but we picked a few. Okay, whose favorite was that?
I picked this one. This Bing Bong Wraith.
He's
He
perfect.
looks like he's in the game.
He's spot on.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
But you do cosplay as well, right?
Oh, yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
So our list, our choice list was like, oh,
Oh,
here
yeah.
are all
I
the really
gave
cool
them like
cosplays
10
I've seen
links
this year.
of different cosplays. It was hard to pick.
The next one is one of my favorites personally, mostly because it came out about 2 days after we released The Plague.
That's crazy.
Which is insane.
I don't know how you do that. And it looks like that in person. Like if you go through videos and other posts, it looks just like that. It's not Photoshop.
It's crazy. On that note, I think you have some of the anniversary surprises that you want to talk about.
Yes, surprises. So actually, for our cosplayers this year, because What's the experience of a cosplayer for Dead by Daylight right now?
Well,
Tough.
it's tough. I mean, you're going in the store, you're trying to take pictures, turn things while the character's moving. It gets a little pixelated. You're kind of guessing at some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for our cosplayers, we're gonna prepare this year cosplay guides. So cosplay guides are high renders, T-poses, you know, like a very, very
macro
close
details
up,
of like
information about
fabrics,
textures,
what kind
and
of buckles
colors.
is there.
And we are going to start in June with our most cosplayed character,
By
the
far.
Huntress. So we're gonna start with the Huntress, and we're gonna do, during the year, release all our original characters on their original setup for cosplayers to use to cosplay, right? Obviously.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Next, we have the favorite artwork. Again, there's way too many to choose from, but this is the one that came out.
The dance.
It's beautiful. Plus, it's kind of appropriate because it's a gala, so they could be dancing
Yeah, they
right
could be
here
here.
with us.
I love the Huntress in this. I love this so much that when I saw it, I made it my phone background. It's been that for like a year. But
It's
the
nice.
the Huntress is like, it looks like it could be in the game because it still looks like her main outfit.
I mean, all of them, even the pig, it
Mhm.
looks like it's just a slight
Slight
tweak on what's
tweak.
existing to make it into something super precious.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And then we have the best DBD moment. I mean, again, there were too many to choose from, but I think, Kella, you picked the Hollow Blight event.
I did because it was just so well themed and put together. I mean, you had cinematics that added more lore into the game. You had another event. You know, you had the plants that you went to that made the god awful sounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about that.
He talked about ASMR with it. So, but no, it was just really well put together.
I think that event specifically is one of the inspiration behind the archives, because it's different objectives and it's also telling the story. I mean, these little animatics that we did, all of it was so well received that we decided to push
It's
on
a
that.
huge shout out to the sound guy who did the sucking sound. It was so good. It's like the
Right
best
there.
part
Fred,
of it.
well
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Somewhere out
Way to
there.
go. It was like Dead by Daylight ASMR. It was perfect.
Wonderful. I'm glad it tickled your brain the right
Yeah.
way. And then you selected the dedicated server
Yeah,
announcement.
dedicated server announcement. Like it just shows like the dev team is really behind the game to put the resources behind it to really go that direction. You don't have to worrying about the killer connection hosting the game and all that crap. So it just shows like hopefully the gameplay will be all the lag and all that stuff will be a day behind us.
That's the
It'll be
plan.
awesome.
Expectations.
Yeah. Hey man, we're putting the bar way up here. Yeah. We're players.
Well, thank you for that.
And can I just throw in,
Oh, yeah,
seeing
please.
Dead by Daylight at the Game Awards was pretty cool. I
That
mean,
was
seeing
kind
you
of
walk up there, it
awesome.
was
Yeah.
like, whoa, this is happening.
Shit got real.
Very.
I think is the
Yeah,
expression.
We were promised a mic drop, though.
Yeah, I
There
wanted
was no
to.
mic
They
drop.
did not want me to do that at the Game Awards, let me tell you. And then I was surprised, so I came here and I said, maybe I can, it's our show. I can
Reenact.
put together a mic drop thing. It'd be super fun. And then they just looked at me and went, do you know how expensive these things
It's
are?
money.
I'm like, okay, so unless
no
I
mic
bring my
drop.
own mic, I'm not going to have a mic.
Expense it next time. Just like, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Write it off.
There you go. So, yeah, that was your favorite moment. It was one of my highlights, too, I have to say. We talked a little bit about some of the surprises that we're bringing to people. Do you want to go in details about some of the other things that we're bringing to people for the anniversary?
Yes, well, for the anniversary, we have a whole lot of activities for June. We're going to start with a contest. Everyone is expecting contests. We have the artwork contest. We
Classic.
have classic, We have the
Cosplay
cosplay
contest.
contest because obviously we have a huge cosplayer community. We're going to redo that video contest because that was really fun. Last year's contestants were impressive. The new
I remember
one.
that Michael wants to party all the time. That was probably the top.
I
for
had
me.
that song in my head for weeks.
But the most exciting contest this year.
Let me say it.
No.
So the most exciting one, and because it's something that the fans have been asking a lot. So it's a contest where 2 people are going to be selected to have their outfit design implemented in the game.
So they'll be able to design character costumes.
Guys, come on.
That's amazing.
Well, they're not going to be able to submit. They're not eligible.
It's okay though. The fans, they want this. It's like it's like the biggest dream for someone
get
who
your
does fan
art in the game.
To get your art in the game, or like other nerds that just work for the game. Yeah, we have a lot of other
things. We're going to do
things.
play sessions. Play with the devs are always super fun.
Play sessions. We have raffles. We have goodies. In the goodies, there's wallpapers like we.
Really cool artwork.
Yeah, image you might not have been seen before, right? And then we have the DVD exam, which is coming from our Chinese community manager, Andy.
Thank you for putting that together.
A lot of questions, and some of them are really, really, really difficult. So to test your Dead by Daylight knowledge, you're going to be invited to do an exam.
Are you a legit fan, kind of thing?
Kind of, yes. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's prizes and everything. But I'm sure in chat right now is, yeah, but double blood point win.
Well, glad you asked.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a double blah, 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 blah.
Yes,
there's going to be a double blood point weekend. There is going to be one. So from June 14 to June 18th. Exactly. And then some stuff is going to appear in the game for the anniversary. I'm not going to give you more details on this one. It's going to be a surprise. I think I said surprise like 10 times.
You did.
Woo! Surprise.
Okay. I was keeping that for later, but that's a good moment.
That works.
All right. So the big anniversary drop is happening on June 18th for people following at home. Well, thank you very much for this. I hope you're as excited as I am for the next year coming to us. Thank you, both of you, for trekking all the way up here to the great land of Canada.
It was an adventure.
Yes. Thank you, Queen, for sitting in the panelist chair. We are going to take a small musical break, and we're going to be back with the moment you've all been waiting for, the official reveal of who will be our next killer.
I'm Merida Dule. I'm Game Program Technical Lead at Dead by Daylight. It's hard to explain what I do normally. Programming is abstract. It's more like problem solving, actually. So we put everything, all the pieces together. It's like a locomotive of a train, which makes it move. Sometimes there are difficult situation that we need to face. We sometimes spend hours and days to solve issues, problems, fix bugs. At the end, like when we see the result, it's very satisfying. I played quite some. I've even played with my husband, and we don't fight after we play.
Marie-Claude Bernard, je suis gestionnaire senior aux relations publiques puis aux événements. Moi, ce que je fais, c'est mettre en valeur nos jeux par le biais de relations avec les journalistes puis par le biais d'événements à l'international. Je vais accompagner des porte-paroles, je vais préparer des communiqués de presse, je vais préparer notre présence physique à des événements. Mon but à la fin de la journée, c'est de faire en sorte qu'on connaisse mieux le jeu, que les joueurs aient accès à de l'information pertinente sur le jeu par le biais des médias. Bien, j'utilise la couture et l'haltérophilie pour vraiment faire une coupure entre mon travail et ma vie personnelle. Donc, ça m'aide définitivement à enlever le stress qui est inhérent à une position comme la mienne. C'est un peu la même chose avec la couture, mais de façon beaucoup moins agressive. pense que je ferais un bon killer, puis ça serait vraiment plus facile pour moi d'aller les accrocher sur le hook après.
Welcome back.
Or music.
That's my favorite song so far. Thank you. All right, I'm very happy that we get to sit here and talk about our next chapter, Carl. I think it's just called.
Carl the cashier.
Nope. No,
but
that's been cancelled.
Yeah, we do have to
Ghostface.
apologize for Ghostface. He did kill Carl before the entity got the chance to pick him, so that's why he's not in the game.
That's why.
Yeah.
We
For
wanted
now.
to, but
Yeah.
no.
No.
But yeah, I want to take a second to talk about Ghostface and how we brought him into the game. I mean, he was on our list since the beginning, and when we tried to bring in new licensed content into the game, we tried to go for the original. We tried to go with what's the most iconic, like we did for Leatherface, like we did for Myers. And so in this case, we went for the Ghostface mask, the Ghostface, persona that goes behind. And the great thing with that was that because the license was for this super iconic mask, it allowed us to create a character behind that was our own. It allowed us to create our own version of who could be wearing that mask and be brought into the world of the entity, which was amazing.
Yeah.
It's sort of the best of both worlds. It's half of an original chapter and half of a licensed one. So yeah, what was the inspiration for us behind this, Dave? Oh, I didn't introduce people. I'm so very sorry. So please let me take a second to introduce Matt, who is our lead designer.
Hello.
And hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Farah, who is
Hi.
our narrative designer. Hi, Farah.
Hi.
And Dave. Who's
I do things.
Yeah, he's Dave.
Many things.
So, Dave.
Yes.
Tell me what was the inspiration behind this.
Yeah, well, you said it.
Yep.
Ghostface is a legend, and I remember 3 years ago, about the time we did Myers, we were actually already looking into designing this character. Like, we really wanted to have this type of character in game and to have Ghostface. So I'm super proud and happy that we actually have him today. So the fantasy behind a character like Ghostface is the element of surprise, is the fact that he's super creepy, that you want to be a stalker, someone that follows his victim before going for the
He takes his time.
He takes his time, he's having fun. So that's what we wanted to recreate in the game for the killer, so for the player that plays Ghostface. And for the survivor, that aspect of being like, genuine stress when this killer is trying to find you and kill you.
Well, that's the other thing also, is that the stalker mechanic is one of the most appreciated mechanic we've created for
Absolutely. I mean, since we've seen how popular Myers is in creating these really cool moments of being surprised by that
scares,
white
yeah.
mask, we wanted to recreate this with another character, and Ghostface fits perfectly. He has the white mask, he has this fantasy behind him. So we wanted to recreate this stalker, but with a twist. So he's definitely working differently than Myers, that's for sure.
Yeah, so he's hopefully going to really bring in some intense stress and jump scares into the game.
Also, like you said, because we could create our own character, like reimagine this character in Dead by Daylight, I mean, we're super happy that he has this new home, this new life in our game now. So we wanted to create this persona that's unique to all of our other characters. So we went with something more humoristic, like we've seen in the trailer.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
This guy is having fun, yeah. Of course, it's still very grim, he's a murderer, but he's having fun with it.
Yeah, and it's important to show also in that video, he is a murderer, not a thief. He pays. Even though he left the knife, he still paid for it.
Right. Absolutely.
So, Farah, tell us a little bit about the character that we've created for this.
So yeah, like Dave mentioned before, this was a great opportunity for us to look at this iconic character and really try to find what made him a legend, basically. So I started with The Mask. In terms of story, it's really interesting to look at a character who has a part of himself that remains covered or at least hidden. So I wanted to create a persona that really was
sort of split.
Yeah, I would say there's two parts of him. There's one that is public that he shows during the day, and that is Jed Olson. That's the small town journalist who covers a series of crime, which are the murders that he's actually committing at night. So this persona is kind of more down to earth. During the day, he's more of a, I would say, monotonous.
Guy, yeah,
someone who is predictable and who blends in the everyday.
But it's sort of like Peter Parker investigating Spider-Man, right?
A very dark Peter Parker.
It's a
very dark.
Grim version, but yeah, definitely. So at night he takes a different persona, and that's when he reveals his true face. That's when he puts the mask on.
So he puts the mask on to reveal his true face.
Exactly,
that's
to unleash
poetic
who he really is. Yeah, that's what I wanted to.
That's beautiful. And I have to ask, how did he end up in the realm of the entity?
So during the day, he's a journalist. He's covering the stories, and at night, he is this playful character who's a bit narcissistic, like Dave mentioned before.
Like Dave.
Like Dave. No. Exactly, like you're the inspiration, actually, for the character. No. Of course, joking. But yeah, no, actually, what happens is that he is a playful persona at night. So that's when, he releases a footage of himself breaking and entering a house. That's the person
that
who
sort
really
of led
is.
the police a little too close.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, the investigation starts pointing to him, and that's when he skips down. That's what he's done in the past as well. And he was planning to visit a different city and start over there, but the entity had other plans for him.
A better opportunity for Ghostface.
Yeah, he's in a better place now.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think. Well, for him, certainly. I think he's probably one of our rare characters who, if he had been given the choice, might have actually decided, yeah, sure, it seems like a place that could be a good time.
An interesting thing as well with the character, since we could reinvent who he is, we actually designed the whole outfit. And part of this outfit has little floaty bits that shows his connection to the entity. So this little plus that he gets from the entity.
Is it magic?
As well. It's not magic. It's entity magic. It's not magic.
Okay. No. Matt, would you like to...
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt. Would you like to tell us about the killer's power?
I would love to. But first off, going to give a quick shout out to Guillaume and the rest of the team that worked on Ghostface, brought this character to life. They did an awesome job, so respect.
People are supposed to clap there. Thank you.
So, the power. The power is called Night Shroud, and basically this is a true stealth ability. And by that, I mean that when you activate it, your terror radius shrinks to 0, and it makes you much more difficult to be detected by survivors. On top of this, you're also moving at full speed, so 4.6 meters a second.
Okay. Oh, yes, I'm supposed to stop you right there and put a little disclaimer. Whenever we talk numbers in these things, it's very early in the process. This is going to be on the PTB soon. I have a date later. But even when it's on the PTB, these are the values you're going to get on day one, but they're going to change. They're going to be tweaked. And then by the time it's released, it's going to be slightly different.
Sure.
So this is what we have designed right now, and it might change.
Exactly.
End
Thank you.
of disclaimer.
So on top of that, Ghostface also has a couple of other special abilities. The first one being that he's able to crouch, and this again makes him much more difficult to detect. Also, if Night Shroud is active, he stops emitting his red stain. So this is really handy for mind gaming around pallets, around loops. Very cool power. Special ability. Very cool special ability. He also has another ability where he can come up behind some cover, lean out, peek, and stalk survivors from there. So again, just another really interesting way to kind of stay hidden, but be able to stalk your victims.
It's important though to know that there's still a sound around Ghostface, so that he
So you can
can't
get
be
an
spotted.
eerie feeling that he's
that's it.
around.
So, but just when he's moving. So
Exactly. Actually, that's another important point to mention. When your power is active, you can stalk your victims, very similar to Maya's, but in this case, you're stalking them individually. So once you've stalked a survivor for 4 seconds, they become marked, and that means that you've applied the exposed status effect.
Which is bad.
Which is very bad. It leaves them very vulnerable for the next 20 seconds.
Cool. But so, yeah, that's it. So these stalking meters are per character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's one other interesting aspect with his power, and that is that survivors can have a direct impact on the power. And by that, I mean that they can detect Ghostface by being within 32 meters, so in a pretty close proximity, and looking at him for at least 1 second. This will break him out of his stealth ability, so it will cancel his power.
So he's the one that needs to play hide and seek this time.
Exactly. He needs to be aware of where the survivors are in the map. Otherwise, again, they're going to cancel his power. It will go back on cooldown. He'll start emitting his regular terror radius, his regular red stain, and he won't be able to mark survivors anymore.
Okay.
So, very cool, stealth ability.
Yeah, that's going to require a little bit of work, but it gives you so many tools to actually have a direct impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It really sets up this interesting dynamic between survivors and killers.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does he also come with perks?
He does indeed.
How many?
He has 3 perks, like all of our other killers, Matthew.
Thank you.
Try to follow.
Surprise.
I was so close. Okay. Would you like to talk about that?
I would love to. So his first perk is called I'm All Ears, and it's a detection tracking perk. So basically the way that it works is if a survivor performs a rushed action outside of your terror radius, their aura will be shown for the next 6 seconds. So this means if they do a fast vault, if they hold shift when they're jumping into or out of a locker, they're going to reveal themselves to you. So it's a very powerful ability. Again, it's on a cooldown.
Okay. What is the second one called?
The second perk is called Thrilling Tremors.
You did that on purpose for all of our French mouths, right?
I did indeed.
Thrilling Tremors.
So
Thrilling
Tremors
Okay.
is an obstruction perk. And basically that means that it's there to kind of help slow down the game a bit, stop survivors from being able to do their objective.
How does it work?
I'll tell you that. Let me get to it. So, the way that it works is that when you pick up a downed survivor, or in this case, when you interrupt a survivor, it will block any generators that are not currently being worked on by another survivor for 16 seconds. So as I said, this will kind of help slow down the game a bit, but on top of this, it will also provide a bit of information. So all of the generators that are affected by this perk will be highlighted in white for the duration, and that means that the very observant killers will be able to see which generators may still have survivors working on them.
Tricky.
Indeed. This perk also works on a cooldown.
Cool. Thank you very much. That was detailed and precise information.
You're very welcome.
Dave.
We have one more perk.
Oh, shit.
3 perks, we said.
I meant
3 perks. 3 perks.
Darn. Yes, what's the third one?
All right, the third perk is called Furtive Chase. So this perk is an obsession perk, and the way that this works is that when the killer hooks the obsession, they gain a token up to a maximum of 2, 3, or 4 tokens, obviously based on the perk tier. And for each token that you have, you will reduce your terror radius by 4 meters when you're in a chase. On top of this, it's also a dynamic obsession perk, and by that I mean that your obsession will change throughout the match, similar to how the reworked Decisive Strike works. And so the way that that works is that when a survivor goes to unhook the original obsession, they will then become the obsession. So this sets up a new target for the killer to want to hook.
And so you can sort of chain them. And
You'll be swapping survivors and who you want to hook throughout the match.
that sounds like
It's
a
pretty
fun
cool.
time.
It's pretty cool indeed.
Cool. So when we make new powers, new killers like this, we tend to try to fill in gaps or bring in something that's different or shake the meta. How do you think this killer makes the game better, Dave?
Well, I mean, a stalker and a killer with stealth abilities like that is going to bring great surprise moment, jump scares, these great scenarios that we love to see in a game. So for a survivor, it's genuine stress that we love when we play Dead by Daylight, since they can't rely on the heartbeat.
Yeah.
There's also that co-op component. There's a lot of choice for the survivor. Like, will you kind of expose yourself to tell to everybody else that Ghostface is there? So that aspect is also really interesting. For the killer, there's a lot of different abilities with Ghostface. The way he moves, the way he can peek, crouch, go in stealth, stalk. There's a lot of option. There's a lot of depth to that character. So that's going to be really interesting.
Well, on top of that, just the fact that we're bringing Ghostface to
That's
Dead by
pretty cool.
Daylight, it's
pretty epic.
pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up for our chapter panel. I want to say to everybody out there who likes to go on our PTB, this one is going to be on June 4th, so they're going to be able to get their grubby little
Very
hands
soon.
on the killer and try it and enjoy it. And then the chapter is actually going to drop on June 18th for everybody else in the world. That's amazing. Yes, this is where you scream. And on that note, thank you very much, Matt.
You're very
thank you,
welcome.
Farah.
Thank you, Matt.
Dave,
Matt.
for
It's a
joining
pleasure,
me.
yeah.
This was cool. This was quite a lot of
It
fun.
was quite
And
cool.
now you will take us away.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Darkhood, and I made some 3D animations using Source Filmmaker, using the models and the world from Dead by Daylight. I basically fool around with 3D models until something happens. Congratulations on the art style of the game. I think it's one of the most unique things I've seen in the gaming industry. The symbols of the world, of the lore, the character designs are amazing, the music is haunting, everything comes together to create this mood that is really special. So please exploit this potential. Backstory comic, lore events, it feels like there's an entire mythology waiting to come out of this world. Whew. I am better behind the camera than in front of it. Happy birthday, Dead by Daylight. To many more years of haunting characters and salty comments on my Steam profile.
My name's Nikki. I'm currently serving as customer support lead for Behaviour. I'm actually based in Manchester, UK. Most of the time I am just a spooky voice on the end of a headset. One of the main things that we get on the desk is a lot of feedback about the game. We get ideas about balancing certain perks, certain maps, and the fact that I'm able to take that useful feedback and forward it onto the relevant parties, like the design team, for example, I think that's genuinely useful. It has been absolutely amazing seeing the game develop and grow from what it was into what it is now. Very surprised at how much I've actually grown thanks to this project. Now here I am on the verge of actually moving to a completely different country because of this game. I think I belong here.
Yeah, that's an emotional bit right there.
We promised some crying, and I didn't think I would be the one doing it. But I am very emotional.
Backstage.
Nikki is one of our first moderator on the project, and she has been on the team. And I'm sorry.
You're okay. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us for the last 3 years. We've got a bunch more coming. Thank you, everybody on the dev team, for your hard work and for everything you've done so far. Thank you for... Oh, hi. Good to see you. And thank you for everybody that helped us put this together. Thanks to the band. You've been awesome. And yeah,
Cue
that's
the
it.
party starters. Whoop!